Support Wrestle Talk!
Give us a subscribe. 2020 has been a year of unprecedented change and anxiety, with pandemics, fires, political upheaval, and, of course, WWE debuting a character called Slapjack. But throughout it all, there's been one constant, one never-changing rock to cling to in the torrential rapids that are worldwide events. Seth Rollins feuding with the Mysterio family. In a storyline that started all the way back in May, the program has continued in spite of Ray being thrown off the top of Titan Towers. Thank you, smaller roof below the main roof. Ray having his eye kayfabe ripped out, the entire feud being drafted from Raw to SmackDown, and even Aaliyah getting more over than her brother Dominic on YouTube thumbnails. But now the feud has finally met its match. A little cute bubba who's a wrestling baby. Oh, such a baby. Ringside News is reporting, so do take this with a pinch of salt, that Seth Rollins is expected to take time off following next Sunday's Survivor Series pay-per-view to be at home with his fiancée Becky Lynch ahead of the birth of their first child next month. Lynch announced on the post-Money in the Bank episode of Raw back in May that she was pregnant after she and Rollins got engaged last August. Becky understandably relinquished her Raw Women's Championship and hasn't been seen on WWE TV since. Seth has continued to be a featured character on Raw and then SmackDown, so he'll presumably be written off TV in his Team SmackDown vs Raw Survivor Series match. It's currently unknown how long Rollins will be taking time off for, and this could be why WWE transitioned his feud with the Mysterio family to focus more on Murphy's relationship with Aaliyah. Oh god damn it, that means it is continuing. Before we get on with the rest of the episode, I'd just like to say a huge thank you to this video's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends! With endless artifacts, billions of different team combinations, and 500 champions to collect, upgrade, and battle, Raid quenches my bloodthirst in a way I haven't felt since Pokemon Red and Green. So I'm going to do the Raid Rap. Champ Fort, Sethala, Silly and the Lucky, Huntsman, Yannicka, Ethos, Bellinor, Growhawk, Witcharm, Teela, Gourmet, Tundra, Mountain King, Tankard, Torment. Catch 'em, gotta catch 'em all. Raid Shadow Legends! And you can summon even more champions with shards, like my Magma Blood from an Ancient Shard and Daywalker, Fighter of the Night Walker from a Void Shard. And even if you don't like your champion from the Shard, you can just sacrifice them to level up one of your existing team. And soon there will be even more champions coming, which you can see in this amazing new artwork featuring Party Lizard. Gotta update my Raid Rap now. Download Raid using WrestleTalk special links in the video description below to find me in-game with the name Wonder Ollie and join my Ollie-fority clan. And as a gift for using my special links below, new players will get 100,000 silver, 2 clan boss keys, 10 mystery shards, and the free champion Executioner. All this treasure will be waiting for new players here in the inbox for the next 30 days. Please at least give Raid a download using our links because it really helps support us here at WrestleTalk. And then you too can do your own Raid Rap. This rapping stuff is pretty hip. I'm gonna try another one. Undertaker, Rikishi, Savio Vega, Godfather Midian, Yokozuna, Henry Godwin, Brian Adams, Ricky Shee, Mr. Fuji Paul Bearer. Playing dominoes, Bone Street Crew. As if 3 decades of kayfabe deadman character lore isn't enough, The Undertaker has a fascinating backstage history in WWE too. Chief amongst these is his real-life locker room group of traveling buddies, the Bone Street Crew. Which sounds like a really threatening name until you realize it's about how they all really like to play dominoes. BSK, the group's initials that you can see tattooed onto the Taker tummy, was rumored to be set up as a sort of anti-clique in the 90s to uphold the traditions of wrestling etiquette and saw Undertaker effectively become the WWE locker room's tribal chief long before Roman Reigns made that his yard. And according to both PW Insider and Wrestling Inc., several of the Bone Street Crew will be at Survivor Series to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Dead Man's debut, which is being promoted as The Undertaker saying farewell to WWE. Although fool me once, WWE, and you've fooled me about 9 times by now. PW Insider write Kane, The Godfather, and Savio Vega are all slated to be in attendance at the event. Vega then added in an interview with Wrestling Inc., some of the BSK members are going to be there and we'll see what happens. Name dropping Fatu, Rikishi, you got Papa Shango, The Godfather, you got Taker, and you got the Godwins. But according to the Undertaker himself in an interview with the New York Post, this really is the end for him. I realized I have taken every physical gift, tool that I have, and have used it up. There's no water left in the sponge, if I can use that analogy. I've wrung everything I could get out of that sponge. He even ruled out any more cinematic style matches like his Boneyard bout with AJ Styles at April's WrestleMania, which would allow him to digitally or practically add water to that sponge. It really doesn't appeal to me because basically what it is working around my limitations. It's capitalizing on some of my ability and some of my creative ability to tell a story, but basically it's trying to mask some of the lack of my physical abilities at this point. Do you think this is actually the last we'll see of The Undertaker? Let me know in the comments where I'll be replying to people from out of nowhere saying, Undertaker to AEW confirmed. WWE.com have uploaded a gallery of their current roster cosplaying as the various looks from Undertaker's career. We've got American Badass Liv Morgan, rejected 1960s Batman villain Zelina Vega, AJ Styles playing Doc Gallows, playing The Undertaker, and Jeff Hardy playing Johnny Depp, playing The Undertaker. But it's not just the Bone Street crew showing up at Survivor Series. Apparently the Bella twins are also in discussions to return to WWE. Nikki and Brie Bella were kind of supposed to return to WWE for WrestleMania season, where they were to be inducted into the Hall of Fame along with Batista, JBL, the British Bulldog, Jushin Thunder Liger, and the whole NWO. But the ceremony had to be scrapped because of the pandemic, as the 98 members of the NWO would have made social distancing impossible. The Bellas announced their retirements last March on Total Bellas, but in true wrestling retirement fashion, there were apparently plans for them to win the tag team titles from the Iconics just several months later at SummerSlam 2019. Nikki's neck and brain cyst meant she couldn't get cleared to return to the ring though. Now, in an interview with Us Weekly, Artem Chingventsev revealed his fiancée Nikki has been having talks about coming back and doing something together with Brie. They both have kids, and I feel like they still have this unclosed chapter with wrestling. I would not be surprised. Maybe it's something that could happen with their Hall of Fame inductions at next year's WrestleMania, which reportedly could be slightly postponed. WrestleMania 37 is currently set to take place in March 2021, but according to the very reliable WrestleVotes, there has been internal discussions about moving the scheduled date of WrestleMania from the 28th of March to the 11th or even 18th of April. The goal remains to have fans in attendance for the event. The thought process of moving back the show a few weeks only helps that out. WrestleMania 37 was originally meant to take place at the SoFi Stadium just outside LA, but the Wrestling Observer newsletter has reported that venue has been pushed back a year for 2022's Mania 38. WrestleMania 37 will instead take place in the Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida, which was the original venue for this year's WrestleMania 36, which ended up being a two-night event from the Performance Center because of the pandemic, which hopefully means pirate themes are back. Arr! WWE are understandably desperate to get crowds back in attendance at their shows, and the company has recently issued a fan council survey to see whether people would feel comfortable at WWE live events in the first 3 months of next year, with Wrestling Inc. reporting one question as, assuming that a WWE live event were coming to a local venue, arena, stadium, etc., between January 2021 and March 2021, how likely would you be to attend a WWE live event? With the options being very likely, somewhat likely, neutral, somewhat unlikely, or very unlikely. Would you attend a WWE live event early next year? Let me know in the comments saying absolutely not, there's a pandemic on, it's dangerous. But actually maybe for the Royal Rumble, it's really fun. Thanks for your support on Patreon, The Kessel Run, The X Solo, and He Can Last Sean for longer than you in the ring. AEW President Tony Khan has received criticism following his pre-Dynamite tease on Wednesday that the balance of power in wrestling will shift tonight. Many were underwhelmed as that power shift was Pac making his return to AEW after 8 months stuck in the UK because of lockdown. It's great to see Pac back on TV, but did it really change the wrestling industry? Tony Khan, TK to his mates, has followed this up by saying it's only the beginning. Thank you everyone who watched AEW Dynamite last night. A shift in wrestling's balance of power has begun, and the winners will be wrestling fans. Pac's returned after 8 months, and I have aces up the sleeve in the weeks ahead. You won't get them all at once, but you'll get them all. With Shaq seemingly coming in for a match against Cody Rhodes and the very real possibility that Kenny Omega will win the AEW Championship on the 2nd of December Dynamite, the power shifting hype feels more deserved, with fans also still speculating over Sting potentially debuting for the promotion, a New Japan working relationship being announced, and weirdly, Ryback being signed. I don't know why people think that's happening. On top of that, Bodyslam.net is reporting the current plan is for Pac to reunite Death Triangle with Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix, the feud with Eddie Kingston, The Butcher and The Blade, and AEW announced they've signed Jade Cargill to a multi-year deal. Interestingly, Cody spoke about AEW's different contract tiers on the AEW Unrestricted podcast. Agreed to appear is Tier 0, meaning you will get a bonus, and Tony is super generous. If you ask some of these extras what they're making down there, my dad would have lost it. Tier 0 is a signing bonus and exclusivity to us in terms of we get a first option on you and we can guarantee you X amount of dates. The exclusivity is case by case. The goal is you don't want to pay someone who has agreed to appear and keep giving them their weekly versus Tier 1, which is our base contract agreement. We have Tier 1, 2, 3, 4, and Tier Jericho. The Tier of Jericho. Cash it in, man. There's also, of course, Tier Bias, which is all the money paid to us here at Wrestle Talk and Dave Meltzer for genuinely liking AEW. But Tony Khan has no love for Space Force One on Reddit, who claims to have leaked segments for next week's show. Space Force One posted a spoiler revealing AEW filmed a new Britt Baker talk show segment called The Waiting Room. The account has previously leaked the Stadium Stampede result, Fyter Fest 2 spoilers, and Eric Bischoff's surprise debut. And it's led to Tony Khan actually addressing the leak. Don't believe everything you read on Reddit. That was taped for dark. Visit WrestleTalk.com for loads more wrestling stories like Jon Moxley ripping an AEW starter shreds backstage following a dangerous botch, the AEW vs NXT ratings, and Quizzlemania champion Tempest's list of 10 Undertaker matches you must see. And also find out about John Cena's backstage heat with a former WWE star by clicking the video on the right, and which fired wrestler might be returning to WWE. Click the video below that to learn more. Also, go subscribe to Parts Unknown because the brand new episode of Laurie Blake's Wrestling Explained is out tomorrow, which you can watch on the PFK Patreon right now. And also, download Raid to do your own Raid rap. I've been Mr. Davis. Raid that Raid!